Colin was wrong.
Now there's a report here the Chiefs are the betting favorites to sign Tyreek Hill, and I don't get it. Been there and done that. Secondly, is he's got injury concerns and maturity off-field issues, and doesn't that kind of sum up what the Chiefs are already dealing with Rashee Rice? So I certainly don't think he's a great mentor for young receivers. Now, he's a home run hitter, but the way people are defending Tyreek Hill, I just don't think that's a primary need. I think it's more running back, O-line, and edge rusher. But the betting market says Tyreek's a Chief, and I don't really get it.
That's interesting. I think probably because they could get a Tyreek Hill for pretty cheap at this point. My G, that would be my guess. The maturity and all of that stuff. First off, you don't need Tyreek Hill to be a mentor to the young receivers. That's not what the Chiefs care about right now. You know, if Patrick Mahomes was 23 years old, sure. That's not the situation. And they need someone that there's chemistry and then where Colin is saying been there, done that. Yeah. And it was wildly successful. I mean, it was wildly successful, and say what you will, but the offense has quite not ever been the same. Now, I don't think with Tyreek Hill in 2026, you're going to be able to repeat 2018 and whatnot, but, you know, I think it's if the price is right, it could go a long way. I do. And again, say what you will about Tyreek Hill, but he does take care of his body. He does do everything he can to make sure that his body is in the best condition that it is. And so for me, it's just if the price is right, sure, let's do it. And any of the off-the-field type stuff, again, I'm not a fan of any of that stuff. I'm not. It makes me uncomfortable even talk about it. Some of the things that are coming out there with Rashee Rice and all of that, I'm like, none of that makes me comfortable. I hate all of it. I wish it was not a thing that was so, intertwined in professional sports, because you know, I don't want to root for people or cheer for people who are doing things that you know, and again we don't even have all the details as well, which is also kind of a problem as well. So, it is tricky, but I don't think the Chiefs, because the Chiefs culture is Andy Reid, is Spags, is Patrick Mahomes, these other players that of all the goofiness that you know, and I use that word incredibly loosely, because a lot more serious than goofiness. But any of the stuff I'll say that can happen in and out of a locker room, it doesn't matter as much because it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Spags, even Tyreek. Travis Kelce even. But it's just I think when you have people like that, you kind of transcend the need for a culture. To me, the Eagles need a culture. The 49ers need some of these other teams need a culture more than say the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Just because of who they have there that's actually pulling the strings. I do think also that Tyreek Hill instantly becomes a good soldier for that, right? He does. He is there in service of Andy and Mahomes, which is what you need. Which is definitely what you need. So, do I think this is the difference between them winning a Super Bowl or not? It's like if they had Tyreek Hill last year, they win it all, right? Like, not going to say that, but I think it certainly helps. Now, the biggest question mark is right, who is he in 2026? How healthy is he? How much juice does he have left? I don't know. And honestly, in terms of how I just kind of defended the whole on the field, off the field type of stuff that can take place. Does he progressively get more and more, just chaotic and crazy and off the walls like we saw with an AB? Certainly possible. Definitely. Certainly possible. But I do think there's probably a sense of home with Kansas City and especially Andy and by an extension Mahomes that you might see a little bit more of a grounded version of Tyreek Hill. Again, what that looks like in 2026, I don't know, man. It's a lot of speculation. And again, him tearing up his knee and he is injury prone at this point and always kind of banged up. Again, what does that mean in 2026? No idea. It's a lot of guessing. That's why to me if the price is right, if you said, hey, there he wants $35 million, $40 million, it's like, no. But if I look at it like Devontae, let's look at Devontae Adams. He got I think like a $20-some million year contract with the Los Angeles Rams. I would absolutely take that for Tyreek Hill. Absolutely take that for that. Again. If I'm another team, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm trying to think of another team, I'm trying a lot any of the teams that I could think of also have great coaches. So like if I'm the Rams, like I would do that, I was about to say the 49ers, but I'm like Kyle Shanahan, like I would do that. But really at the top of my list would be obviously the Kansas City Chiefs in that regard. But like if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, even though I like to coach, but I don't think that would fit there. If I'm the Houston Texans, that's probably the best example. Best example, Houston Texans, I don't want that, right? So, it's just like depending on who you are as a team, what you can offer and the environment that you can offer that to me dictates the placement of a Tyreek Hill. So, Colin is saying like, I don't get it. And it's just like, yes, in theory of the top of the list of things that you want to add to your team, Tyreek Hill is probably not at the top of the list. But considering who the Kansas City Chiefs are, considering what they're already looking to do, if they're not going to have to pay him that much money and if you get a Devontae Adams similar type deal, I think it's worth it. Also, Rashid Rice might not be there. I don't know when all this is all going to go down either, but there's like a real question mark. I saw that one post where they were like the Chiefs have to kind of go, approach this off-season as if Rashid Rice isn't going to be there next season, whether he's going to be suspended or what the story is. Again, I don't feel like guessing all that type of stuff again for back-to-back seasons like we did with Xavier Worthy and Rash. It just becomes too much of a mess. And especially the more serious the accusations are, honestly for me the more uncomfortable I get talking about it because it's just unless I have details it's uncomfortable with an actual hit and run and that type of thing like we had the details we had the accident we saw all that stuff that's a lot easier to discuss. Something like this is like man don't just not the nature of how I try to operate sports conversations. I try to keep it 100% all about sports, nothing political and really minimal off-field type stuff unless it's clearly like, right there. So, just a weird situation. Like, he got a 2-year, $46 million contract with the Los Angeles Rams, and I think you would be able to get Tyreek Hill for significantly less. You could even make the argument that it's worth it for them to sign that to the Chiefs. Now, I'm not saying necessarily worth it from a salary cap situation in terms of where they need to spend money, but if you had the money to spend and that's what and that's what Tyreek Hill was asking, I don't even think that would be the worst thing. I think that was an absolute steal from the Los Angeles Rams and that was clearly a steal. An absolute steal. Absolute steal. And I ripped other teams for not doing it. Even the Kansas City Chiefs, it was like that you could have done that. The Bills could have done that. All these teams could have found a way to make that work. And so I just think that you'll probably be able to get an even cheaper deal for Tyreek Hill. And if you can, then I think it'll be a steal. Again, doesn't mean it's going to be a home run, but it's still a smart strategic move. It's reported that he's expected to get like $14 or so million, which is really what I was just saying. So, yeah, I don't think that's a bad play. And I think there's also this notion, I'll end here, this idea that you're kind of getting the band packed together, that there's going to be some of that little bit of energy of like, alright, baby, we got Tyreek, we got Travis, we got Mahomes, we got Andy, like. Let's go. And Colin is saying, I don't know why they're doing this and then, would it shock you if in October he's like, this is what the Chiefs do. Nobody else would have taken Tyreek Hill, but Andy knew. And that's the great thing about Patrick Mahomes. You can't do this with Jalen Hurts. You can't do this with Baker Mayfield. You can't even do this with Drake May. But with Patrick Mahomes, you can. And that's the difference. That's why Patrick Mahomes has multiple Super Bowls and Lamar Jackson does not. That's why Andy Reid is better than Bill Bitch. Would that shock you? That's a take that we see in October. And then when it all fails, it's, snorts, I told you guys this wasn't going to work. So, I don't know. I'm supportive of it. I'm supportive of it. I'll plant that flag. I'm supportive of it. But I'm also very clear that I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be a home run, but I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day for an Andy Reid and a Patrick Mahomes, you need competence. You just need competence out of your players. When you get that, magic tends to happen. When you get competence and talent, you get a lot of success. You get a lot of wins. Even if there's minimal juice to squeeze out of it, the Andy Reids of the NFL just know how to get the maximum out of it. And Patrick Mahomes certainly isn't going to be a liability. So, because again, at this point in the career of a Tyreek Hill, a lot of it comes down more to coaching. How much juice do you have less? That's why Gvaunt was only able to do so much in other places that he was at with and when he was with the Raiders, he got nothing. When he was with Aaron, he got something. When he was with Sean McVay, he got everything right. So, that's why I think on a spectrum, there's still plenty to get out of a Tyreek Hill. So, and for $14 million, especially if it's like a 1-year, $14 million deal or something. You know, again, I'm not going to try to speculate the contract too much, but even if it's a $14 million 1 year or 2 a year, $30 million, yeah, it's not bad. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think they're actually going to sign Tyreek Hill? Do you want them to sign Tyreek Hill? Do you think if they do sign Tyreek Hill, it'll be beneficial? It'll hurt them, help them? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.